Peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
Thank you very much. Welcome to Punchline Africa Television, broadcasting from the Political Command Center in Africa. Thank you very much. Good evening. This show is MATSANGA Africa Perspective. It is a show that looks at the African perspective, what is taking place on the continent of Africa, and also what affects Africa, what ails Africa, why Africa all the time. Is it because it was called a black continent? A continent with black people, we are special. But being special among all the continents, we have also difficulties that come for special people on this continent of Africa. Have we been taken as testing experiments, laboratories on the continent outside Africa? Today we have a very interesting topic, and that topic is International Criminal Court. Why has it hovered again on Africa? It hovers on Africa. It has come back. It is haunting almost every part of Africa, each corner of Africa. The International Criminal Court has brought its strength again to make sure that Africa does not stay or live in peace. But is it the problem of the International Criminal Court? Is it the problem of international agencies? Are we the problem ourselves? Do African governments understand the treaties that they sign? Are you aware of International Criminal Court? As an ordinary Kenyan, an ordinary Ugandan, why was it signed? Why did your government sign an ICC ratification document? Why did it ratify the ICC document? Were you consulted? How many people in Africa were consulted? Or it was an omnibus declaration and asked the African countries to come and be given entry into ICC. These are the difficulties. Does ICC do selective justice? Does it have selective amnesia that has killed the same institution? Is it capable to handle cases where even national courts are better than it? In the national court, we have assessors, we have prosecuting agents different from investigating agents. In the ICC, the prosecutor does all the things and even asks for sentence himself and say, I want the man to be jailed after investigating from day one up to the last point. Is this the court that Africa should be? Or it is time for Africa to call it a day and leave this court to other people, the same people who created this court? In 1998, when I joined Kofi Annan in Rome on that hot day in July. I sat there drinking coffee and a coffee and a coffee, waiting for the documents of ICC to come. I witnessed one of the landmarks of the introduction of International Criminal Court. We were thinking that this court could come and help people in Nigeria who were looking for human rights, whose human rights were being abused. We thought there were so many dictatorial tendencies on the continent of Africa where human rights are abused, impunity had taken place. I did not know that several years in 2021, 2020, or 2005, the first case of ICC occurred in my country called Uganda. Is it the time for now for us to look at why ICC comes on Africa and why it continues to return, even in places where you thought it had gone? Is it the time to tell Africa why? Should Africa find out? Are there clauses that can give Africa the freedom to quit an organization once they find out that this organization is not worth talking about? This is MATSANGA Africa Perspective. Today on the panel, it is a male panel, and if you want to join us, you can look at our poster and join us immediately right from the Republic of Kenya on the headquarters. There will be somebody to join to connect you in Nairobi, where our headquarters are. I want to cross over right from the political command center somewhere in Africa. I want to say good evening, Nicholas Njogu. Good evening, Nicholas Njogu. Are you hearing me, Nicholas?
Good evening, Dr. MATSANGA. A very good evening to all our viewers and listeners, wherever they are listening us from. This is MATSANGA Africa Perspective, a program that I've been watching for a very long time that really inspires and lays it bare. So as we delve into the International Criminal Court of Justice, I'm really keen to hear what the insights from your strategic intelligences are, because whatever you speak comes true. You spoke about Gicheru's case becoming a nightmare. It has become it's starting to open up another Pandora's box. I'm keen listening and I'm ready to contribute, Dr. Lee.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Nicholas Njogu. That is the spirit. If you feel like joining, look at our poster. Join in. The number is 399 535 8320. When you punch in, join the meeting. And the passcode is 503 and 670. Hallelujah. You will find smiling voices of good ladies in the studios in Nairobi who will join you direct to where I am right now. Thank you very much. Tawishi Olesasana from Narok across Kenya. Test the microphone, sir.
A very good evening to you, Dr. David MATSANGA from the Political Command Center. Good evening to colleague panelist Sean Wesonga, as well as, of course, Nicholas Njogu, and all our viewers watching this program in Kenya, Africa, and the rest of the world. My pleasure to join you on MATSANGA Africa Perspective tonight.
Thank you very much, Tawishi from Narok. God bless you. Keep it going near Mara Reserve Park range, and then I hope the animals are safe. Are they beginning to go south or north?
They are going south now.
They are returning to Tanzania. We have given them enough children, so therefore they can produce for the Tanzanians. Thank you very much. Across in Kenya, in the CBD, our investigative journalist, by the way, Tawish is our special assignment editor, and the editor, one of the legacy trend, which defends the legacy of President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. And we are here, we work, we tell it as it is. Across Kenya, when you look in Kenya, everywhere there is construction. Surely, you would be a madman not to like Kenya. Because there is a new road from 1884, when Kenya was demarcated as a colony. There has never been any construction of that nature in this country. Well done, Kenyatta. Continue doing it, my Pan-African brother. God bless you. Now across in Nairobi, we have none other than Daniel Wesonga Sean. Is Mr. Colombo. I call him Colombo, an investigative journalist, a very deadly investigative man, but he doesn't beat the teacher because I'm more advanced on skills. Wesonga, tested the microphone.
Yes, very, very good evening to you indeed, Dr. Matsanga David, at our Political Command Center. Good evening to my brother Tarisho Lesasina in Narok. Good evening to my brother Nicholas Jogu. Our viewers who are watching us here in Kenya, Africa, and the rest of the globe this evening. Indeed, it is a pleasure to be on this conversation this evening.
Thank you very much. I don't know whether Tawishi you have a basic lay down notes, which if you don't have, can I send them to you? I will have them in my head.
Honestly, I do not have any for now.
Okay, thank you very much. I will play you the background. The International Criminal Court was formed in 1998, July. We sat in Rome, we ratified, some countries ratified, some did not. America and China, Russia, India, Brazil, they did not ratify the Statute of Rome. In 2002, it started work. But in 2005, the first case in the International Criminal Court came from my country, Uganda. The ICC indicted 5 commanders of the Lord Resistance Army. They did an investigation which was shoddy, and I raised my red flag. It is from there that I knew that ICC was fake, a fake organization, an organization that should not be respected by any normal person who has gone to school like me. Unless you have obtained papers through back door on River Road, on a Kasero Market in Uganda, or the shanty towns of Soweto through the back doors, or the Kurumbi somewhere in Zimbabwe, is when you can say ICC is a court. ICC is simply a diplomatic club, a club where diplomats sit, choose who should be the next chief prosecutor, choose who should be the next judge. Whether you are competent or not competent, you still remain chosen as a judge. The International Criminal Court has one obnoxious section of the chief prosecutor, who is the prosecutor, the executor, the investigator, and finally, request for sentence, herself or himself. This court, therefore, in 2005, issued warrants of arrest against 5 commanders of the Road Resistance Army who had killed people, maimed people, slaughtered people. They were fighting a war between themselves and the Uganda government. Uganda government was equally not fighting with water. They were fighting with bullets. The exchange of fire. Unlike the question of Yugoslavia, where we took all the sides from the Serbians, from Bosnians, we took all of them to the Hague. The Uganda situation chose one side to be taken to the Hague. As we stand today, one commander of the Road Resistance Army is in the Hague, serving a sentence and waiting for an appeal, because he did not want to sign the Juba Peace Accord, which gave amnesty to most of the commanders and the people and the fighters of the Road Resistance Army. After that, they came and struck in Sudan. They later on struck in several places, Central African Republic, Democratic Republic of Congo. You know the case of Thomas Lubanga. You know the case of Bemba. You know the case of Ivory Coast. Then you know the case of Libya. You know the case of Kenya. You know the case of South Africa. You know the case of Burundi. You know the case of several other African states that have fallen under the hammer of the ICC. Viewers and the panel, it is not wrong to seek justice, but the altar of justice of international nature must always remain as clean as Caesar's wife, beyond reproach. But the ICC is not as halfway clean, not even a quarter clean. Is marred with a lot of difficulties, a lot of terrible malpractices, a lot of NGOs, civil society, a lot of hearsay from pork and meat joints. They listen to stories, they can fabricate you and take you home forever. The cases of Kenya collapsed in 2015 and 2017 or 2016. The first case of President Uhuru Kenyatta, which I was keenly involved in, opposed most of these cases in Kenya. Because the cases in Kenya were simply who was taller and who was shorter. Not that the people did not die. People died. 1,600 people died. But America has killed thousands and thousands in Afghanistan. Nobody has touched them. When the former chief prosecutor tried to take America down, America took her down. Double standards. When you look across the continent, more people are being indicted into this club of diplomats that sits in once in a year in either the Hague or the new UN to deliberate under the Assembly of State Parties. There are 34 African heads of state or governments. They have now 33, excluding Burundi. Is the only country that has quit. But during our formation of ICC, included when I was there, we made sure we argued on Article 127. Article 127 of the Roma Statute is very clear. That article says, if you feel you are not safe, if you feel you are not part of what is going on in the and not comfortable, the marriage is not very good, you pack and leave. I have been time and time again told the African countries to pack and leave. Kenya tried, it reached somewhere in the Indian Ocean, it returned. South Africa tried, it reached somewhere near Natal, it returned. The only country, Uganda, likes it, doesn't like it. Uganda says it's a bad organization. His Excellency President Museveni is always on record condemning the ICC as a bad organization, but Uganda has not left the ICC. In a nutshell, we leave ourselves to be brought back. We live as presidents to be arrested by this organization. Don't you see the pattern in Africa that every president who is leaving power, people want to take him to the ICC? Why? Because we have remained there. Our internal dynamics of law, the lawyers that are the Attorney General, Solicitor General, and the Minister of Constitutional Affairs and International Relations have not taught us one thing, that there is Article 127 of the Roma Statute, where you can now say marriage is no longer very good, I have left. Nobody in Africa has done so. We are still there. We are waiting until the ICC comes for the leader. The ICC comes for another one. And yet our democracy is just growing. And in democracy, there's bound to be chest bumping and slaps here and there. There's no smooth democracy in the world. Neither was it there during Socrates, Aristotle, the Plato Republic. It wasn't there. All in all, there was no democracy. Even you saw Socrates, Plato, struggling to write what we call the Republic. The Plato Republic. Why did he write it? You see the obstacles. That still gives you a point that there is no democracy yet. Even in America, you cannot start insulting President Joe Biden when the police is hearing. They will arrest you. But it is assumed to be the most democratic state. In a nutshell, what has Africa done? Why is ICC hovering? I've given you a background now. I want to come to our panel. The Kenyan cases, the work envelope. In 2007, Kofi Annan came and made an agreement here, cooled down the peace, the conflict, but he disappeared with an envelope. To date, the Kenya government has never told the Kenyans who is in the envelope. What can the envelope be tomorrow? Why have we left bad evidence in our statute books? Why have you left the work report in your books in Parliament on law that there was a commission called Waki? That's why the chief prosecutor is coming back for Ruto. That's why the chief prosecutor could come back tomorrow. Because you have left the work envelope still dirty. One of the problems that Africa does not listen, and I want my panel to understand me. I'm very charged when it comes to this, because you cannot beat me on anybody outside there. It's these people who run around that they know, oh, they are intelligent or what is it? Why have you left work envelope still standing in the Kenyan law? When Moses Kuria stood up and said, this law, I bought witnesses to fix William Ruto. Hassan Omar said, I changed the report to fix Uhuru Kenyatta. Why have you left it? Is it the best law? Is it the best way that Kenya does its things? It is a big exercise, therefore, for the people of Kenya to understand that the more you leave this, the more problems you will have. If you don't remove the work envelope from your books, don't blame me. I might not be here tomorrow. God might have called me. He's the one who knows the timetable. But remember my voice and advice. That work envelope could bring problems. That when you are walking in the streets of Madrid, in the streets of Lisbon, in the streets of London, even if you are a former leader, someone would call you and say, you did not finish the problem with me. I want you to understand that. There are people who have been picked up. The head of intelligence of Rwanda was picked up in London, in Madrid, brought back to Paris. Several people have been picked in Paris for crimes against humanity. These guys don't forget. They will pick someone at one time. Ruto was one of the few people who was against me to remove the work envelope from the courts of Kenya. He actually decampaigned me. Physically, if I was near, he would have even beaten me. Yet I was doing something. I lost 7 million shillings. 7 million shillings. Tawish is here, is going to tell you. If I'm wrong, may God help me and take me. If I had kept that money for my children, they would be very happy people. Why was I wasting it for? I wanted to save this country. The chaos that is now appearing in the papers that there is evidence that shows that Mr. Ruto paid people to kill people, to kill witnesses. It is, that's be point blank, sindio. Tuambiane ukweli. That is the evidence that we have seen now. Even if some of it has been redacted, it points to that. And Article 1, Article 70. The only man who won Article 70 is the man speaking. There is nobody who has gone to that court under Article 70 and come back out without a conviction. And Mr. Ruto should prepare his lawyers. If you go under Article 70, it's not as the normal articles. Your Excellency, the Deputy President goes to work, you might have a problem. You might have a problem. Prepare your lawyers under Article 70. Please, it is a very dangerous article. Obstruction of justice, perversion of justice. Because of justice, you don't come out. You are always convicted. Ask Bemba's lawyer is still serving the sentence today. It is very bad article. The only man who defeated Article 70 is me. And I walked out because I did not interfere with any witness. I only found the witness on Facebook. So a witness on Facebook cannot, if he's not protected, if a witness is protected, hello, how can he be on Facebook writing in his own name? So I followed him up to Texas where he was, and I got him. It is not my mistake. It was the mistake of the office of the chief prosecutor to protect the witness, change his name from Nicholas Njogu to Nicholas Mexico. But the witness is still writing on Facebook and Twitter, greeting his people at home. Any investigative journalist like Dr. MATSANGA will find you. Therefore, I laid my evidence how I got this name. And you saw, Dawish, you were present when I published all these things. My website, Ocampo said, I've arrested you. Together with the late Saitoti, they connived, they arrested me. They interrogated me for 3 days. I gave them the evidence, and I also gave my defense, including tapes showing that Ocampo received money from a certain African country in order to charge those people. And I walked out. I waited. They later on gave me a letter, a certificate, which I have, to say all charges, any investigation against you is dropped. It is that sad that today Kenya, we are witnessing, as I summarize and allow the panel, we still have up to 9:30. So we shall have enough time to discuss. That is the scenario of the ICC. It is a bad organization. It is hovering back on Kenya. It will not live without. It is like an eagle. When the eagle comes, it doesn't live when it has not scratched you. It is up to you people. You are Kenyans. I submit. Thank you very much. That is the summary. I don't know whether Njugu wants to stand or Njugu wants to wait. Let's see, Dawish, you can hammer this for us. Tell us more. Why do you think ICC is hovering Africa again, apart from the reasons that I've given? Are we still committing crimes? Are we still talking the same way? Are we still shouting? Are we still calling people matapeli? Are we still calling others madoadoa? Are we still doing the same things that we did that took us to the ICC?
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Ori, and thank you, colleague panelist. Indeed, Dr. MATSANGA, this is a topic that will obviously have a varied response or reaction, if you like, and more so depending on what angle or what side of the divide one really sits. But I will try to be as objective as possible because, for one, there was so much excitement and enthusiasm in as far as African countries joining the ICC, of course, through the Rome Statute. For the simple reason is that the African state really hoped that the ICC was going to be the solution, mostly for the international crimes and crimes against humanity committed on the African soil. And there was a feeling that perhaps African countries did not have the capability, or rather the willingness, really to be in a position to prosecute these matters for the simple reasons probably that most of these crimes against humanities and war crimes have been perpetrated by those in authority. Dr. Masanga, to a large extent, the concept that led to the formation of ICC was a good one. If at all ICC had stuck to its right lane, if at all ICC had remained credible, if at all ICC was not biased or partisan in as far as approaching cases. But one will equally argue that, Dr. Masanga, when you look into most African countries today, and you've rightly asked the question, are we doing things differently? Are we improving from the past experience that we have had? Have we done something different from perhaps situations that led us to get into ICC in the first place? My thinking, Dr. Ari, and I think I have a resolute answer, which is no. I'm saying so because when you even look into the cases that so far have been to the ICC from the African continent, if you are to talk of Burundi, you are to talk of Mali, Central African Republic, Democratic Republic of Congo, you are to talk of Uganda, you are to talk of Cote d'Ivoire or Kenya or even South Africa. Dr. Masanga, you'll agree with me, and I think the panel will contend that most of these cases really were referral from the African states themselves, a majority of them. That in itself tells you that African countries primarily had a lot of confidence and a lot of trust in ICC to be able to fairly and in an impartial manner adjudicate on these matters.
Why? Dawish, now I come in, I have to interject and ask so that you expound more. Why?
Sure. Yes.
Look at the country like Nigeria, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Buhari has been killing people.
Yes.
Buhari has been killing so many Biafrans. He has armed the Fulani to kill the Igbo, the Yoruba to be killed because they want to say we want democracy. Do you now blame ICC for coming to take Buhari? For example, Buhari is supervising a country that is falling apart on every second. What do you say about that?
I agree with you, Dr. Ari. Of course, there are about three dynamics within which ICC operates in trying to get involved in cases about war crimes and crimes against humanity. Also, those are those that are viewed as international crimes. And Dr. Masanga, you will agree with me that there are cases about referrals that countries themselves, like what Kenya did, for instance. You remember, let's not be vague, let's go to Hague. I mean, we had an opportunity, for example, as Kenyans, to sit down amongst ourselves or constitute a mechanism, a local mechanism that we are going to use to try and prosecute individuals who are highly involved in perpetrating, of course, the violence that we saw in 2007, 2008. But we failed and insisted we must go to The Hague. If you were to look into the cases, for example, maybe of that of Sudan, and I don't know which one else, that was referred by the United Nations Security Council to the ICC. It is only about 2 or so cases that ICC itself came to investigate and decided to confer charges and prosecute individuals or groups that were involved in such crimes. So essentially what I'm saying, Dr. Masanga, we've already created there's a very big misgiving on the part of ICC's credibility, and that is why you see they will even be hesitant really to take action in as far as issues like, for example, what is happening in Nigeria today, that Buhari is doing on the people of Igbo, that is what is happening in Cameroon today. They will be hesitant and reluctant to come and, for example, take action on those particular, on that situation. For the simple reason is that there's already a misgiving about ICC's credibility. Second, you heard about, of course, the petition by the African countries. And don't also forget that the African countries, a record about 33 or 34, are the ones who make the membership of ICC. So in itself, if African countries were really to move out of ICC en masse, then they will leave ICC as a skeleton, rather a hollow thing. They will not be having any flesh to operate on. So basically, there's a lot of things that needs to be done to be fixed, if at all we have to remain at the ICC. Because what African countries have all along been doing, save for, say, Burundi and others that decided to quit. We have just been but issuing, I would say, empty threats of withdrawal, but we have not made any initiatives or steps beyond those threats that we want to withdraw. We continue to complain as though there are not, of course, the leeways and windows that allow us to withdraw from ICC, if at all we feel like we are not satisfied enough with how it is operating its activities. So essentially, Dr. Masanga, I would want to say that what is happening in Nigeria today is very, very unfortunate, and you cannot quite blame ICC if it was to come, or the United Nations Security Council, if they were to recommend or suggest that the Nigeria government, through its leadership led by President Buhari, must be taken to ICC. The president of Cameroon today, Biya, if United Nations Security Council or ICC is carrying out, of course, underground investigation as regards to crimes being committed against innocent civilians, then we won't quite blame, of course, ICC. But the problem that we have as Africans, if we are to be very honest, is that sometimes we are very good at double speak and double standard, to a point that we complain about what is happening in Nigeria, we complain about what is happening in Ethiopia today, we continue to complain about what is happening in Central African Republic. But if the UN Security Council or ICC was to take action against the perpetrators of those incidences, then we are the first people again to come out and say African countries are unfairly being targeted. Maybe one will argue and agree that Kenya or African states are a soft target for ICC, because there are almost similar instances that have happened in other jurisdictions, in other countries globally. Say, for example, Afghanistan, we'll talk of Iraq, we'll talk of Argentina, but ICC has equally been reluctant to take action because they feel these are big economies, these are strong economies, and it will jeopardize, or it could really make it difficult even for them to operate if they were to have, of course, to intervene. But I do not think that that is the reason why ICC was formed. They still have to live to the ideal and the aspiration within which it was formed in the first place, regardless whether it is a power country, a superpower or not. They do not have to look at US. If they have committed any crimes against humanity, then I think action should equally be taken. They have to remain fair and to remain, of course, not partisan as far as dealing with the cases. I submit, Dr. Ari.
Thank you very much, Tawichi. You raised quite a number of things. I asked you about Nigeria. I want to listen more from the point of view. Take any case study from Sean Wesonga as a case study.
Yes,
look at the Kenyan scenario, for example. Do we make mistakes ourselves? Today, you see the deputy president at night is campaigning. Right now, as we speak, he has been somewhere where he's seeing people. Anything could happen to him. Security have given him an assurance that don't campaign at night. But he does the campaigns at night. Do we make mistakes ourselves as Africans? Do we obey the laws? That's why Tawish was right when he said people looked at ICC as the only beacon of hope. But later on we found out it was now just a club of diplomats seated in New York or The Hague and directing which country to dismember. There are ulterior motives when they come to Africa. Yes or no? Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Masanga. And of course, in as much as we apportion blame to the ICC, we are always the architects of our own tribulation. And you just mentioned the case of the Deputy President William Ruto campaigning late into the night, and also sometimes even like it happened the other day in Kisumu, going to areas where the intelligence agencies have actually warned him that they are more likely to meet violence. So that tells you that as an African people, in as much as we've tied ourselves with a rope in the neck, because I believe ICC is the noose on our own necks. Wherever we go, so long as we are still subscribing to ICC, it will always come back to haunt us. You realize that we also make mistakes. Like, for example, just recently we had a very, very serious case with the Nandi senator, that is Cherargei Samson, who was telling some communities who are residing in Nandi that they are actually profiling them. When you go to Kericho, we have Senator Aaron Cheriot, who was also talking in certain terms that could actually simply incite the community against one another. So, and all that sometimes happens in the presence of the Deputy President William Ruto, who doesn't take any opportunity to reprimand them or maybe tell them that this kind of conversation should not be taking place only a few months to the election. So to me, I think in as much as ICC is a thorn in our own flesh that we should actually get it out, we also play in the palm of ICC in that we allow ourselves to indulge in activities that will actually put us in the limelight and bring ICC to our doorsteps. And that also has to do with the case that we are having right now against William Ruto and lawyer Paul Gisheru. And the ICC is arguing that William Ruto actually used lawyer Paul Gisheru to bribe witnesses, and whatever he's staring at is actually a jail term of 5 years if he will be found culpable of maybe having bribed the witnesses in his case. And he does not just stop at that, because the case of William Ruto was vacated because there was no enough evidence to actually tie him to the accusations that took him to the ICC. So in a scenario that whatever is coming out of lawyer Paul Gisheru's case is enough to actually revive his case at the ICC, then William Ruto is staring at a very, very big problem in the ICC. But be as it may, Dr. Masanga, as like we talked during the day, we say that Kenya would have been better off if it would have left the ICC. ICC has never been a good institution for the African continent. Remember, since the inception of ICC, we have had so many cases of human rights violation across the globe, and the majority of them actually have been either in Asia, in Europe, or maybe sometimes we've had cases where the US Army has been implicated in violations against human rights in the Middle East. And you realize that ICC has not been focusing on these major cases outside Africa. Rather, the most successful cases that ICC has been able to prosecute are those only from Africa. Therefore, we have to ask ourselves, is it that ICC is only a court which is hell-bent to witch-hunt African people? Is it not able to prosecute the cases that are maybe implicates major superpowers like the US? You remember the other time ICC tried to implicate the US Army of atrocities in the Middle East. What did the US do? It came and put sanctions on key individuals at ICC, and ICC actually chickened out. So, and in Africa, we do not have that particular courage to stand up against ICC. So in as much as we do not want ICC to be in Africa, we as the African people first, we should make an effort of making sure that we do not find ourselves in the wrong books with the ICC. And number two, if we do not find ICC more suitable for our own governance, then we should do away with ICC. Just like you say, like in marriage, if you do not find it quite tenable, then all you do is to go to the divorce court and talk to the judges and say, this marriage is no longer tenable because myself as a married man or as a married woman, I feel that my rights are being violated. It is an abusive marriage and I cannot continue sitting in here. And that is what Dr. Matsanga, yourself, and other experts on ICC had foretold the people of Kenya. And actually the president came on board and proposed that we have an international court that will be able to solve the African matters. Let's do a case study, Dr. Matsanga, on the crisis that we had in Gambia. Those people actually sat together and they had a tribunal that saw the atrocities of Yahya Jammeh, and the victims were brought into those tribunals, and people in government who are held culpable of committing atrocities during Yahya Jammeh's regime were brought before those tribunals. They were able to do local cases, and those who are found culpable were punished. Those who are found maybe not much implicated into those crimes actually had to come and be able to apologize to the victims, and that is how they were able to forge a very, very united country. The same thing that happens to Rwanda. But here in Kenya, you find out that ICC comes, it doesn't even bother to do investigations to find out the culprits, the real culprits of the crimes that were committed in 2007, 2008. It comes to buy witnesses, it comes to buy fabricated evidence from activists and journalists, and from that, it now holds a few individuals to ICC without opening the working report, which actually puts faces to those criminals who are able to perpetuate these atrocities in various parts of the country. So to me, I agree with my brother Rachel Lesasina. I agree with you, Dr. Matsanga, strongly that ICC is a fraudulent entity. ICC has never had the interest of the African people at heart, and therefore continuing to be member states of the ICC or maybe subscribing to the ICC will actually do us more harm than good. I submit.
Thank you very much. You submit. Why don't we then quit on Article 127? Why? Why doesn't Africa quit? There is an Article 127 which is very clear. Pack and leave if the marriage is not very good. Why do you wait there? If your wife is locking you up in a small house and you don't enter the bedroom, then why do you stay in the marriage? I'm sure your wife is listening, Mr. Wesonga. If you are locking me up in a small room and I say stay there, when I want you, you will come. Why do I stay? Why should you stay? You pack and leave. Why is Africa still in the same organization throughout, day in, day out? Article 127 of the Rome Statute is very clear. Notify the Secretary General and call it a day. If the United States of America Secretary General comes to Africa, goes to Nigeria, Senegal, and reaches Nigeria, does not condemn the human rights abuses, that Buhari, if the United States of America Secretary General does not condemn the human rights abuses by President Paul Biya that are taking place in Cameroon against the Amazonians, why do you stay in the ICC? Some of the African countries are even right now applying to join ICC. Did you know that? It's very interesting. What bewitched Africa? Who bewitched us? Are we bewitched? The tragedy of Africa is working here. What has that gone wrong? The laws are very clear that the governments which are not very happy with the International Criminal Court pack and leave. If you think it's the only place where you can get justice, when justice is being pestered, cut and paste, as Butoro is saying, have you seen the mindset of a man called Butoro, an African who has gone to school, well educated? He says it is the only place where you can get justice when there is no assessor. There are no assessors in the ICC. There is no bench that can look, investigate. There is no DCI in ICC. There's the chief prosecutor runs the DCI. He runs the investigation, DPP, runs the prison. That's the ICC you want to go. Nicholas Njogu, my brother, you have heard. You seem to have picked everything.
Yeah, I've picked a few things, Dr. Matsanga, and I really agree with the entire panelist and yourself on exactly the problems bedeviling Africa. I don't know who bewitched us as Africa, because certainly we have a problem, and I find ourselves like we bought an old car that has problems, and instead of disposing it and leaving it out and going buy a new car, we are still keeping on driving and trying to think that we can repair it to be a new car. That's the problem we face. ICC, the way I see it, is it's a tool of foreign hegemony. It's like it's an NGO of activism where the interests are. Today, Buhari and all his murdering and all his gerrymandering, and same case as this other group from who is killing Amazonians, they are white as snow because France is protecting them from the behind. In reality, there's no objectivity. Again, we also have another main problem in Africa, which is a dead, unalive AU. The AU should have spearheaded conflict resolutions and tribunals in Africa. But as it is, it's also another tool of foreign hegemony. It has been captured, it has been shackled, it has been tied. It's now a traitor of France. If France says turn right, the AU turns left. If the AU decides that today we are going to stand on our feet, France comes and says, no, we pay you, you have to follow us. That's another problem. Again, the UN is also not playing a central role. You find the UN composition, the parties with the power to veto are also a problem because they have individual interest in Africa. And the minute Africans will realize that it is in no country's interest to develop another. There's no one who wants to develop Africa. All they want is our gold, our silver, our minerals, our oil, our forests, and all our resources. Then Africa will change. Then my solution, which I think would really help Africa, is the minute our leadership in Africa realizes that there is no way ICC will solve solution. You do not solve political problem. You do not solve regional problems in a court that has no, that is obnoxious. It's the investigator, it's the appellate, it has no appeal jurisdiction. In short, you can take the prosecutor is the head and the tail. I think Dr. MATSANGA, they say in the Bible, it's the Alpha and Omega. Meaning the prosecutor can decide you'll be jailed if you are not in good terms. Look at the crisis they wanted to plead through the International Court of Justice that you really fought against and you really helped the Kenyan government to avoid. So those are the problems I see. For example, where was the ICC against this Abu Bakr Shekau, the Boko Haram murdering people? They are nowhere. Where was the ICC in South Sudan between MATSANGA and Salva Kiir? People have died, they are still dying, but they cannot be touched. Where is the ICC? It means it's not independent, it's not fair, it's fraudulent. Look at the Kenyan case scenario, and which I think the governments that will come in Kenya and we all Africans will have problems because we do not close our doors. We are what we call Wadhog people. I don't know how you call a Wadhog in Uganda and Dr. MATSANGA. In the community I come from, we call it Ngiri. We are Angeri nation. We forget things immediately they come. Immediately the 2008 and the cases were dropped. We forgot that there is a file, there is an envelope of work stuck somewhere, and it can be used by the ICC to cause regime change, which you always keep fighting about. A regime change strategy. They decide today they don't want you. You are stopped somewhere, maybe taking coffee in Brussels, and Abdishalawi decides that he has seen you and you are again hoovered back. Look at the problems that are facing Burkina Faso. Where is this so-called ICC? I believe the solution in Africa is to have a tribunal composed of African leaders to solve our problems. And that tribunal, or whatever solution, an African court, an African-based court, every country to ratify it in their constitution as the prima facie land point to solve our problems. I submit, Dr. MATSANGA.
Thank you very much, viewers, wherever you are across the continent of Africa. Why does ICC keep on hovering over Africa? We have given the first round, our friends from Tawish, Sean Wesonga, and Nicholas Joko. I have given the background why it keeps on coming, and it will keep on coming. And some African states are even applying to join. President Uhuru Kenyatta took a check of $1 million. I was present in AU, paid the AU in Addis Ababa. Kenya paid $1 million. If you go to Addis Ababa today, because for me, I don't talk something that I don't have evidence. I have judges, very good friends of mine in the African Court of Justice, which is stationed partly in Arusha and Gambia. They told me they even take 2 months, 3 months without salary. So where has this money gone? The money has been eaten. Another point, you raised the point of France. France pays ICC. France is a member of the United Nations Security Council. When you want to accuse ICC, France will veto and block you. All the workers, 70 to 80% of the money paid to ICC to run is paid by one country in Europe. And that country in Europe is called France. The other remaining 20% is paid by George Soros. Now you tell me, you in Uganda, you sit in this organization, you send your Minister of Constitutional Affairs or the Attorney General, but George Soros pays people, opposition, to overthrow governments in Africa. Are you also upstairs? Do you have knowledge or you are empty? You are sending your minister to go and sit down with George Soros partly funded organization. And at the same time, you are complaining that George Soros is funding a regime change in my country. You must have gone to school, but you missed reading the notes when the teacher was teaching. Let's take another strand. The question of South of Sudan, for example. Khartoum, Bashir was indicted. But one side of indictees disappeared in thin air. The Janjaweed, the Jema. You remember the organization that the black Sudanese who wanted Darfur to remain an independent state without the Arabs. Where did those people go? They disappeared. But the chief prosecutor concentrated on Mr. Ali Bashir. When I raised the red flag, they told me, you have interfered. I gave them evidence, very serious evidence, showing one, they were paid $17 million to indict Bashir. I am a witness here. As a whistleblower, I wrote to Fatou Bensouda and I told her, I filed the case to the court that you tell me how you could go and investigate a head of state when you have been paid $17 million. A simple PA, personal assistant of the chief prosecutor, called Fernandez Silvia Gumedi, who became the judge, the presiding judge of the ICC, had banked $17 million on her account. This money was transferred from America, from a Jewish organization, to go and fix al-Bashir. Now you see how politics works. A Jewish organization is sending to fix an Islamic state. We lost it there. So, from this perspective, Africans still want, when you get an African like Butoro, he said he's very happy to join, very happy. Let's go there. Don't be vague. Let's go to the Hague. Harwari was one of the few people who was telling Ruto, the deputy president now, that let him not waste time here, let him go. He's a criminal. Today, Harwari and Hassan Omar, Moses Kuria are the loving darlings of William Samoei Ruto. Isn't it very laughable? We have forgotten and moved on. Thank you. Have we resettled the IDPs? You talk of redemption strategy. Uhuru Kenyatta brings a redemption strategy in Kenya. Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga said, let's shake hands. And we go on to the bishop and say, forgive me. Nilifanya mbaya. Someone is proudly now telling us that tulikuamisha. We stopped reggae. Now reggae is stopping him soon under Article 70. I'm telling you, the way the case is structured, Article 70, Mucheru does not have a banana plantation or chicken. He doesn't have a factory. So how did he assess 200 million Kenya shillings? That is the most serious question that is being asked. How did he access? How? Over 200 million shillings, Kenya shillings. How did you access? Where you don't have a factory, you don't have a poultry farm, like a Ruto has 1,500 what? How many chicken? He gets 1.5 per day. This must be extraordinary chicken from Angel Gabriel. So, which produces so huge money. Now, the ICC is going to ask you, where did you get the money? And that's the question, the evidence, as I'm going to summarize for you. You will even get a shocker. Currently, there are 22 cases in the ICC. Out of those, 15 cases out of 22 come from Africa, and they are linked to Africa. Point number 2, the countries that are in ICC are Uganda, Sudan, Congo, Democratic Republic, the Central African Republic, Kenya, Libya, Cote d'Ivoire, Mali, and South Africa. The evidence laid forward by the chief prosecutor, deputy chief prosecutor, points at Gicheru working in a network with His Excellency the Deputy President. It is an allegation that he has to prove that he doesn't know Gicheru. But for them to reach a point to say Gicheru must come, they have already got the links, the telephone discussions, the video imagery. You don't get out of it unless you produce evidence like MATSANGA produced. OTP4, you remember? Nicholas Njogo, you must give me another crown. OTP4, I produce imagery also, my own imagery. How I flew into Texas and I met the man and said the man gave me an interview, he called me. And he told me he's not protected. Nobody has given him a new name. He's still called OTP4. Maina Kabutu. Because now he's dead, we can talk about it. And that's it. I needed that. Imagery. I came with my imagery and arrived here. The chief prosecutor wanted to finish me. Under Article 70, he said, you have violated the law. I asked the chief prosecutor, there is one thing you have to produce for me. Show me a copy of the protection order. Don't backdate it. Show me now. And my lawyer is here. Chief Charles Taku from Cameroon. One of the best lawyers in the whole world. on criminal law. I spent $424,000. I want to thank the people, the friends, Sky News, because at that time I was working for Sky News. They paid me some money to get myself out of payment for lawyers. I got out of this case. I have a certificate that shows the chief prosecutor technically said, kwaheri, bye-bye. So in a nutshell, with all these things happening, the ICC chief prosecutor seemed to be linking the deputy president with Mr. Paul Gicheru. He goes further to say, under Article 71C, you are taken down for 5 years or given a fine for every account. Therefore, if the accounts are 10, you will be jailed for 15 years, which will work concurrently. The judge could decide not to give you a fine. And if it is a fine, it doesn't exceed more than 250 United States dollars. If you are lucky. The deputy chief prosecutor goes on and say, the analysis of the mobile phone of discussion. You see, when you are talking on this phone every day, be careful. You have seen what Mr. Sonko is doing to people here. Today he came with naked, nude photographs. I believe you. I don't know whether people have buried their children in their houses. I can't do that. None of my daughters will talk to me again. Did you know that? None of my daughters will talk to me again, Dad. But here we are, we make mistakes. The old telephone conversation between Gicheru and the DP have been laid on table. They have collected the data, the time when he signed for ICC. When you signed for the Safaricom, you know, we go to Safaricom and say, sign here, sign here. You can't say it is not me. They have taken that evidence. The number is linked to His Excellency, the Deputy President. That's the evidence he has. This Mr. Stewart. Mr. Stewart further has evidence that establishes a pattern of witness interference described below was conducted for the benefit of and in coordination with, this is very serious English, the benefit of and in coordination with, you are done. Remember, and I want to explain to you Kenyans, and as I give you your final parting shots. The deputy president's case did not end because it was to end. It ended because witnesses were interfered with. Are we together in English? Uhuru Kenyatta's case ended because there was not enough evidence. There was not enough evidence. So today, I want to clarify that for people to know the difference between the two cases. Because I see some people yapping. Always those who hate Uhuru Kenyatta, all this. Kenyatta's case was stopped because, or it was dismissed because it did not have evidence. Ruto's case ended because the witnesses were interfered with by Mr. Gichero, and others. I therefore submit that Africa, time has come for you to quit. Why do you wait? Let the UN Security Council authorize the chief prosecutor to come and you refuse her entry or him entry. Why do you wait in a club which is already going to lock you up? Pack on the ship. If you're a president in the African continent and you are aiding, just pack, remove your country from this organization called ICC. Because they will take you there. My friends in Uganda, opposition tried to take President Museveni to ICC. I told them you are very stupid. Because Uganda has domesticated the ICC court. Domestication of ICC court. Uganda has a bench which handles ICC cases. So if you are taking Museveni to the ICC, they will refer you back to Kampala where you are. Because there is a bench, a special division of the High Court of the Republic of Uganda that handles ICC matters. Is there a bench in Kenya that handles ICC matters? Njogum, you are a new man in town in Jerusalem.
No, there's none. There's none. You'll be thrown very high and to a very cold country.
Kenya has not set up a special division of the High Court that deals with ICC matters. And you now call people names that ICC is coming. Oh, so and so is the one who went to look for ICC. You are very stupid. Can I use that word again? Very stupid. You are deputy president and you have not facilitated a special division of the High Court to be there so that tomorrow when they want you, you go to that division. They refer that case back to that division. You don't want? You have work envelope still standing there. You don't want to quash it. You don't want to quash it. Remove it from your statute books. That is the agony, the tragedy of Kenya. Final submissions, Tawish Olisisana.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ari, and indeed, colleague panelists, for that submission. It's been a very good debate. But Dr. Ari, I think the critics will argue that probably we are unfairly vilifying ICC or its existence because we went there as individual countries. We went there willingly without any coercion. We felt it was going to provide the best solution ever to the problems, more so on the international war crimes against humanity. But maybe that has not since come to be the reality or what we had hoped of ICC. The bottom line then will be, why then do we complain about the marriage that is not working? Just like my brother Sean Wesonga said, don't we have the opportunity really to withdraw from ICC if we feel like it is inappropriately targeting us? If we are feeling like it is not serving the purpose with which it was formed in the first place, why don't we then make the bold move and move out of ICC? It would be hypocritical really to continue castigating ICC, to continue saying it is biased, to continue saying it is not fair enough when we cannot make the bold move and actually exit ICC. You remember there was that, of course, a threat by the African Union and engaging all the membership really to withdraw enemies. And I think it was only Burundi then. Gambia also tried a little bit, but retracted later. When the new government was put in place. I remember when Adama Barrow came into place as the president. You remember also South Africa attempted to withdraw, but again retracted after some time. It cannot be said of the other countries which have not even attempted. Then the question will be, Dr. Masanga, what then makes us continue being at the ICC? Is it that we are skeptical of the situation that will be if we are to withdraw from ICC? I think first thing first, like you have suggested, Uganda has made a very good stride by ensuring that they have an ICC, like, of course, a court in Uganda. What would you say of Kenya, for example?
Before I lose the argument, hold the fire there.
Okay, Daktari.
We can't lose ICC because we go there to buy perfumes for Our Lady. Nicholas Njogo and Tawich and Wesonga, these guys want to go and buy perfumes in The Hague. They have a list of demands by concubines. You look at African officials, when you find them in duty free, they buy the duty free as if, in fact, the plane can collapse because of the duty free. I've done observation. Look at Nigerians. When you find them, they have bought duty free as if they have seen it. That we have that greed. So we needed to go to the ICC to buy perfumes for our women, our concubines, people, side dishes that are left scattered all over the whole country. That is how we have lost Africa. That's why we have wars everywhere. That's why a minister of sports in Kenya can carry an ugly woman from Kenya. I'm not saying women here are ugly. And take to Brazil. I want to wish Brazil has got one of the best ladies on planet Earth. When they dance salsa, you can't stand and wait. How can you carry baggage and leave a man going to throw javelin? The man who was going to win a gold medal for Kenya was left at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. And our Rio carried a concubine from here. Anyway, they say the beauty is in the eyes beholder. But if I were young again, I would not carry a lady from Africa to take to Brazil. Continue from there.
Thank you so much, Dr. Remember at one point, the immediate former president of US, that is Donald Trump, did refer to Africa as a shithole continent or country. And we are actually out trying to condemn, of course, Donald Trump. There are certain things that we do as a continent and as a people of this continent that you sit down and ask yourself, how can a person in their sane mind, in the right senses, really do such kind of a thing? But that is a story for another day. Back to what we are discussing, Dr. I think I was drawing to the point that we need them to make a bold move. That we cannot continue to criticize ICC when we continue, of course, when we want still to be at the ICC. It is just like staying in a marriage that cannot work. You are blaming your wife or your husband for unfaithfulness, for prostitution, for all manner of things, including lack of respect, but you're not willing to go ahead and dissolve that marriage. Doesn't it speak of double speak or hypocrisy in itself? I think we can make a move, but again, it's also a challenge on us that in as much as we'll be pursuing that path as a necessary for the African continent, then I think we should do something that really speaks as a commitment, or that a commitment towards having an ICC like courts domesticated in our countries, so that at least it speaks of a direction that we are indeed committed into solving these disputes, that we are not going to be glorifying or taking pride when crimes against humanity are committed against our civilians or our innocent people. So I think first things first, we must try to see how the same can be domesticated back at home before you even initiate this issue of pulling out of ICC. But me thinks, Dr. as I conclude, that ICC is more of a tool of global political conspiracy, not the justice that was intended really to dispense. And it is high time maybe African countries or individual countries that signed the treaty, the Rome Statute, really to get into ICC, gave a second thought in as far as their partnership with ICC is concerned. Then as I wind up, Dr. let us also ask this pertinent question. How come the superpowers, countries with the biggest economies in the world, talk of US, other countries talk of Israel, for example, such kind of nations, Daktari, they have not found any reason really even to join ICC in the first place. Yet they will be our role models, that they could be the countries we are looking up to really give us guidance. If they have not found a reason really to be at the ICC or to sign that treaty, how come that the African countries really went there in the big numbers to join this court without giving it a second thought? So I think let's go back to the drawing board. Let's review our partnership or our involvement with the ICC. That is it absolutely necessary for us to continue partnering with the ICC or being parties to ICC in the first place? If it is not that absolutely necessary, let us do the right thing by withdrawing. I'm talking about individual countries because, again, it is not about en masse movement, exit from ICC. Each of these countries got there voluntarily, willingly, and at individual capacity, and there was nothing to do with the African continent. So we can as well use the same route we entered ICC really to exit, but we must be able and bite the bullet and have an almost similar mechanism or structure back in our country, so that at least we can prove to the world that we are able to prosecute those cases back at home. I submit, Dr.
Thank you very much. And November 25th is the day for elimination of violence against women. Don't beat wives. The last time I quarreled with my wife is 45 years ago. How many of you on the panel still beat your wives? And if you lie to me, you are lying to almost, you are hurting yourself. When your wife wants to quarrel with you, Wesonga, just get the keys of your Mercedes. Go down the pub somewhere and have a drink. And give her time to quarrel with the room, with the house. I'm giving you free advice, Wesonga. Then come call her that you are not able to drive the car back home.
Yes, Doc.
You will see the way she will come with the Uber very fast to drive you back home. That is the time you know you have a very good wife. I last quarreled with my wife 45 years ago. But after that, I don't want to quarrel. When I see her starting trouble, I just keep quiet. Then she sees me. She said, I know you are picking the kids running away. She locks the door. But I said, please, I just want to go out and come back. Then I tell you exactly the truth. I go for some hours, then come back later. The anger is gone. Today is the Women's Day. And don't beat up your wives across Africa. Talk with your wife. This is where violence begins from. Then we go and we form states. Then we want to break states and form our own states. Violence begins from those families. Nicholas Njuku, tell us your parting shot.
Yeah, violence begins in families, Dr. Matsanga, and it's amplified. It goes to community, it goes to nations and states. So we abhor it by all its entirely. So my parting shot for tonight, Dr. Matsanga, is I foresee a three-step solution to the ICC hovering over Africa. Number one, let's strengthen our own judicial systems in individual countries to be able to have a strong and tamper-proof criminal justice system. I think that's the problem that bedevils Africans. No wonder Africans are feeling so hopeless with their own criminal justice systems that they see any foreigner as a messiah to justice. Number two, let's strengthen the AU to have the capacity to prosecute African cases in an African way to solve African problems. Otherwise, we'll still end up having the big boys sitting somewhere in The Hague or Brussels, deciding who they want to pick and who they want to leave and on which side they want to be and on which side they don't want to be. And then the last point is, let's let's support African leaders and all Africans together, that we stop this great behavior of wanting more power, wanting more resources for ourselves. Let's believe that we are all Africans. Africa is for us, and we are for Africa. I submit. Thank you, Dr. Matsanga.
Thank you very much, Matsanga. Take it away for us.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Matsanga David. And of course, it is indeed a shame that 50 years ago, or maybe thereabout, we are having the colonialists or the Western people or the Western powers as our colonizers and our colonial masters, people who we did not want to see in our land. And some few years now, we are going back to the same people seeking solutions to the problems that we have. My party in short is that African people must find a way of solving their problems locally without going to embarrass themselves to the outside world. And in many cases, perhaps going outside to seek solutions to internal problems has never even bore any fruits to our efforts. So therefore, my point is whatever Tarisha said, whatever my brother Njogu has said, that we need, first of all, to strengthen our local mechanisms of justice. And secondly, we need as leadership also, if need be, that we need to work with the ICC, then we can do whatever Uganda is doing. Let us work with ICC, but on our own terms and conditions. And I believe that is what even the US is doing. There's no way the ICC can go into the US and haul someone back to the Hague like they did in Kenya. So therefore, let us as Africans elevate our own dignity and be able to solve our matters. And if it does not work for our own self, then let us work with the ICC on our own terms and conditions. I submit.
Thank you very much, viewers. Thank you across the globe, wherever you are, wherever you have been watching us. This is Matsanga Africa Perspective. We thank you very much for watching us. We thank you for having listened to our views. It is not that we are the final destiny of ideas, but we are the beginners and we say what we feel. Those in Nigeria who yearn freedom, to get that freedom, someday, one day, Buhari must end up in a place of justice. For those yearning for justice across the continent of Africa, I don't think ICC is the solution. The solution lies within Africa itself. It is we who go and use bad language, incite people, call tribes names. The situation in Ethiopia teaches us a lesson that Tigrayans are not fighting to go and unite Ethiopia, but they are fighting to go and divide Ethiopia. Is it the continent that we want? Is it the Africa we want? If Nyerere woke up today, if Emperor Haile Selassie woke up, if Baba Tafawa Balewa woke up from his grave, if Nkrumah woke up from his grave, if Sekuture Obote, Jomo Kenyatta in Kenya woke up, Patrice Lumumba woke up from his grave, Dr. Keke Kaunda, Robert Mugabe, Nelson Mandela, Samora Machel, Gabriel Nasa, Benabera, Nimeri, Siadibare, if they woke up today and saw what Africa looks like, what would they say? What went wrong with our continent? What went wrong with our continent? Why do we wait for justice dispensed from the Hague instead of creating our own justice systems on the continent? Even if we don't read the sections of the law that says, if you are upset, get away. You don't want to get away because you want to buy perfumes, cologne, from supermarkets at the Schiphol Airport, in The Hague, in Amsterdam, you still want to remain in the ICC. Isn't it terrible? How many of these people call us to come to ICC? We go there by ourselves. This is the tragedy of Africa. Thank you very much, my panel of Nicholas Njogu, Samuel Tawish Olisasana, Daniel Wesonga. And thank you very much, my technical team in Nairobi, Kenya, Republic of Kenya in Nairobi. Thank you very much. Here we are. The situation remains as it is. Will this case affect Kenya and the Kenyan elections? We wait and see. I think it is. There could be missing links. You never know. Punchline Africa Television from the Fundi ya Mitambo. I'm learning Swahili from Fundi ya Mitambo. Asante sana Sam, back in the studios in Nairobi. Thank you very much. This station therefore is for Africa, with Africa, by Africa. Ciao.
Peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.